some people don't take responsibility for their actions. Other people blame their environment. But I mean, the reality is once you get to that point of being an IV drug user and being homeless, the way to get out of that isn't nearly as easy as it is to get into. You know what I mean? Because like before you were an IV drug user and you were homeless, you probably had a job and a car, a girlfriend, an apartment, whatever, and you had money. And so you started using drugs and you started spending money, and then it got to a point where you didn't give a shit about anything. You started losing those things. And then by the time you get to the streets, you've already been to jail a couple times and you have evictions and whatnot. You don't have a girlfriend anymore and you have no money. And there's no program where you can go sign up and they'll fucking help you. You know what I mean? There's no one's just gonna throw you into rehab and then pay for a place for you to live for a year. Like, and if they are, it's gonna take them like fucking, I don't know, anywhere from 3 to 6 to 9 months to even fucking actually help you. And then there's all sorts of other shit that factors into that. Like if you're a felon now, you can't live in certain places. Some programs you don't qualify for. I mean, they don't, like they say they help you, but they don't. I mean, like, they really don't. I don't know. Well, I mean, when you get out of jail and you're released in downtown Seattle and you have no money and you have nowhere to go and you're a drug addict, what are you gonna do? Are you just gonna wander around aimlessly begging for money until you can get a phone so that you have a number that these people can call you on, and then continue wandering around begging for money to hopefully be able to pay that phone bill next month, when it's gonna take them at least 3 months to do anything? Like, that shit's expensive. Okay, my name's Zach. I'm 27 years old. My clean date is January 31st, 2018. I have 8 months and 19 days clean. My drugs of choice are crystal meth, heroin, cocaine, crack, LSD, mushrooms, ecstasy, PCP, marijuana, and alcohol. By the time I was 14, I drank and smoked pot every day, like all the time. I drink at school, I drink when I left school, I drink before school, I smoke weed all day long. And then I started doing cocaine with some friends when I was 14. I did cocaine and drank and smoked pot every day. And I smoked crack every day. And I sold drugs at school. So I dropped out of school and I moved out of my parents' house shortly after that. And I was just doing drugs every day. I didn't work. I just broke into cars and stole cars. When I was 17, I started using methamphetamine on a regular basis. I had done it before, but like when I was 17 years old, I started doing it a lot. This is right around when I turned 21. I worked at a bar, and I got really, really drunk, and I had a bunch of money on me. I had like $800 or $900 on me, and when I got up the next morning, I had like a quarter pound of crystal meth in my pocket, and like no money. And then one day it occurred to me that not everybody did what I did, and I was different. So I went to rehab, checked myself into a rehab. I was in rehab for like 67 days, I think, or something, and I graduated. The day I graduated from my rehab, though, I went and picked up my last check from my previous job, and I went out and I bought some heroin and I bought some methamphetamine. The girl I got involved with was a heroin addict, and she was on Suboxone, so I started using Suboxone. At this point, I'd still never really been an opiate addict. I was like 22. We ended up losing that apartment, and that was when I became homeless, like really homeless for the first time. And I mean really homeless. Like, there's a difference between like, oh, I can't go home tonight, or oh, you know, I lost my apartment, but I still have friends and family I can go stay with. I mean, like, I walked out onto the streets, and I looked at my phone and looked at every phone number I had, and there was no one to talk to. There was no one to call. There was no one who could help me. I didn't even know where I was. I was in Issaquah, and the only thing I knew about Issaquah was my work. I didn't know anything else about that place, and that's why I started being homeless. I started selling drugs, and that's when I started actually doing heroin. And when I started doing heroin, I became like a totally different person. I became much more criminally active and criminally involved. I started like stealing cars again, breaking into cars. I robbed stores. I robbed people. I robbed ATMs. I would steal from anybody. I caught my first felony the night I turned 23. Possession of heroin. After that, it was just kind of just a downward spiral. I mean, I never tried to get sober. I never tried to do anything. My dad actually had a heart attack, and I found out when I was living in a hotel room getting high on drugs. And I never called him back after they called me and told me that. I didn't know how to get out of it. I didn't have tools. I didn't have help. There was no programs I could go to. It's even more of a handicap when you're from a different state, which is weird. It's almost like being from another fucking country. And it turns out it's actually easier if you're from another country to get the help you need. When I was in jail, at first I had zero intention of changing my life. By this point, I didn't want to use drugs anymore. I mean, I hadn't wanted to use drugs for a long time, but it's hard to make that first step when there's nowhere to go. Like, when there's no reason to take that. I mean, I wouldn't say there's no reason, but it's like, why take that first step if you're going to end up in the same place and live outside when it's 24 degrees outside and not be high on drugs? I mean, the lowest of the low is when someone takes your freedom away and you go to jail and it's like a break. You get arrested and you're like, oh, cool. Thank God. It was fucking cold outside. I was out of drugs. Like, that's nothing. It's literally nothing. It's a nothing life. I wanted to get out of this life, but I didn't know how. And so when the opportunity was presented to me, and it was a real opportunity where I didn't have to wait, you know what I mean? It wasn't like, sign up here, and we'll call you in 6 weeks on a phone that's going to get stolen from you. Or give us your email address that you'll not be able to check at the library because you're trespassed because you fell asleep there. Or whatever, you know what I mean? Or give us your family's, mailbox, but they live out of state and don't talk to you. Like, when somebody actually picked up the phone and said, yeah, we can do this for you, this is a real thing, and then when I showed up here and it was real, that's when I wasn't just, one foot in, 1 foot out. I was both feet in at that point. This is the only place I've ever been where they're just like, come as you are, be who you are, and work on yourself, and we'll help you. I don't know, there aren't programs out there like this. There aren't places like this. They don't exist. You know what I mean? Like, this is almost like a fairy tale. To show up to a place and have them just be like, yeah, we'll take you. And I mean, like, I didn't even have an ID. I didn't have a social security card. I could have just been saying my name was what it is. I could have just been signing a name. I could have been anybody. I mean, I did have my jail wristband. I did have some jail paperwork, so I am who I am. And that's crazy. I mean, there's only one other program that's like that, and it's the Union Gospel Mission. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm hoping that most of the people who see this video been to the point that I've been at and have been there for a while. Because when you realize that there might be a place that you can go where you can start working on the things you need to work on and you can do them at your own pace. I mean, I don't know, it's freeing.